All right, hello and welcome everybody to the Super Baka Bros channel and today's episode of the Too Much Time podcast. I am your co-host Angelo Baca, and with me, as always, we have the multi-talented Philip Baca. Phil, how are you doing today, sir?
First of all, you're welcome, and I'm doing all right.
What am I welcome for?
Just in general.
In general,
so many things.
Fair enough. I'm sure you're talking about something very particular, but I'm sure sooner or later I'll look back and see what the hell it is you're referencing.
For being your brother.
I mean, I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. So yeah, we are here this morning talking about Marvel's What If, the animated, I would say limited series. No, it's not limited because they're having a second season. What the hell am I talking about? Animated series delving into literally what the title says, what if, multiple different scenarios. And so this will be the spoiler warning going into this stream. If you haven't seen that, I would definitely watch it ahead of time, and if you don't care, we'll just stay with us. Who gives a shit?
So this is a little on-air production meeting because I'm kind of getting into some visual graphic things. And I've mentioned wanting to create stuff for the shows.
Yeah.
This seems like a perfect moment to have something where, you can kind of hit a button, and I don't know if it takes up the entire screen or just part of the screen, but there's like a big spoiler alert kind of graphic that pops up. Maybe it has some audio that goes along with it.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I don't know if it's just somebody's like monster truck rally announcer guy, you know, Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. It was just like spoilers, spoilers. I'm down with that.
We got it. Good show.
Producer Ma and Pa Baca, go ahead and write that down. Make sure that we don't forget that one. So they'll be on it, Phil. They got us.
Nice.
And people watching right now, thank you. Please interact and chat with what we're talking about, even if it's something you haven't watched. If you have questions about stuff, we're more than willing to talk about it. Before we get into the actual topic itself, I was just thinking about this whole episode setup of What If and all the possibilities of what they could, you know, do with it. And like I said, they are doing a second season, so you know, they might even do some of the things that we are going to talk about. But I wanted to ask you, Phil, what is the possible what if scenarios that you might be looking forward to in the future?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. We talked about this and then I didn't think about it at all. Facebook.
Bloody brilliant. You're over there effing smirking on your phone and shit and not doing your damn job. That's what the shit's happening.
Yes, that's what happened.
You're literally doing it live.
Do you have yours lined up already?
I mean, I'm just gonna make one up off literally the top of my head just because I know Marvel that well.
Well, because this show is based in the MCU, so you know, I can kind of. I was gonna just think of something from the movies that.
That's true. It does have a limited range. It's not all of the Marvel comics.
Yeah, but you can find ways to kind of adapt it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just go first because I can see that you really can't can't come up with something. Honestly, for me, I feel like something that delves more into the Incredible Hulk in particular. I know they had a little bit of the Incredible Hulk in a overall story, but nothing specifically him. So I want to do like, what if the Incredible Hulk stayed on Sakaar and didn't come back to Earth? It's kind of a scenario after heading up there at the end of Age of Ultron, becoming the badass, you know, Sakaarian champion that he was, and then Thor going to Sakaar and bringing him back to Earth, which obviously has a lot of consequences and repercussions because Hulk is the one at the beginning of Infinity War who got sent back to Earth to warn everybody. So like, what is all the repercussions of that if he's not there to be sent back to Earth to warn everyone about Thanos? So I think that would be a really good one. And like, you know, not even delving into him becoming the leader of Sakaar and getting married and having his child and all that stuff, but just him staying there on Sakaar, or maybe even doing that. But I think that'd be a really cool thing that they could, I should say, since they're still continuously doing the story, that they could delve into.
Yeah.
Is that enough time for you, Phil, to think of something? Yeah. You piece of shit.
I pulled up the movie posters to see like the other movies that have come up.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea. I like that.
And I this might actually be a good one. Actually, now that I think about it.
Okay.
So I just thought of this 2 seconds ago, so I don't know how well completely thought out the idea is. But
no, Kevin Feige's watching this and he's gonna write it down and just use it.
I'm ready, bro. I'm ready. All right, get your pen out.
You're about to get tapped by Kevin Feige.
Yeah. Getting a red rose. So I was looking at the movie poster for Civil War, and I was thinking, you know, at the end of it, the Avengers are kind of fractured, and they're not very well set up for Thanos when he shows up. Yeah. But what if?
Oh, shit.
What if instead, at the end of Civil War, spoiler alert, when Tony Stark's, you know, angry because finding out about his parents' death, what if he kills Bucky and Steve Rogers and then becomes almost like a Dark Avengers version of Tony Stark, almost like in Justice League from DC, where he becomes, you know, because he talked a lot about wanting what's it called, armor around the world.
Yeah.
What if he does that, and then when Thanos shows up, he's ready for him. He kills Thanos, he gets the Infinity Gauntlet, and then you have kind of an evil Tony Stark ruling the world with an Infinity Gauntlet.
I could see that. I also could see it being the other way, where he kills, Winter Soldier and Captain America, and feels like that he's ready with the armor around the world, and then Thanos shows up, and he actually, because he killed those two, doesn't have all the pieces to, the 1 in 14 million scenario to defeat Thanos. But I like that as well. I like that better as soon as you said that than what I thought of. What if Captain America with the shield on top of Iron Man, not destroying the reactor, but cuts the head off of Iron Man? I think your scenario is a little more realistic and what a slivered, fractured what if possibility. Because I don't think Captain America would do that.
No, but that's kind of the idea behind this show. So then, with that in mind, what if Captain America killed Tony Stark? Like, where does it go from there?
That would be then Captain America getting the rest of the people out of prison, and I don't know. That would be a real dark scenario, because there's a lot of like dark themes that would go from that. Like, who is Steve? That's Steve Rogers after killing potentially one of his closest friends, essentially.
Be more of an anti-hero at that point.
I feel like you would have to delve more into Baron Zemo. He would fully succeed, and there'd be more of Zemo in this after that kind of scenario playing out, because that's exactly what he wanted. Not only them being just, not close or being enemies with each other, but potentially maybe one even dying.
What if the guilt he feels after all that leads him to almost side with Baron Zemo, and then?
What if that starts the Thunderbolts?
Yeah. What if he's that, Steve Rogers is in the Thunderbolts? And
then he becomes like U.S. agent version of Captain America, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Kevin Feige, give us a call. All right, put on that black Marvel hat and come on up to Seattle, Washington, bud.
And if you don't, what are you doing?
He's probably just rolling. He's like Scrooge McDuck style, rolling around in cash is what he's doing, or probably bitcoins. Knowing him, digitally VR rolling around in Bitcoin. All right, with that, let's go ahead and get into the topic. Like I said, chat, people watching, if you want to interact, please recommend you do so. We love your questions and any topics you want to bring up. Mom Pa Baka, you know what? You probably did jinx yourself by talking smack in the chat about beating me in fantasy football, so you brought that upon yourself. And
blame.
Only for you to feel the repercussions of that, so that's on you. So with that, Phil, Marvel's What If, would you like to go ahead and delve into your thoughts on the overall of this series? I keep wanting to say limited series, goddamn.
Why? Well, first,
because everything has been limited, Scarlet Witch or Vision and Scarlet Witch. What hasn't?
Loki's not,
but the other ones have. There's not going to be another Captain America. Falcon
2 out of 4. So half of them have not been limited series.
Get the fuck out of here. Go ahead.
Well, so first, before we get into that, just want to do the basic synopsis. I think,
sure,
people might already be familiar with this and might get the idea a bit from what we've already talked about. But the big idea with this show is an animated show, and it basically takes place in the multiverse. The multiverse is the idea that, within the reality of the Marvel universe, there's all these kind of other realities that are, kind of maybe similar or very dissimilar from the stories that we know. But anything is possible. Like, every possible reality actually does exist, kind of parallel to the one that we experience within the actual Marvel storyline. So what this does is, for the most part, it takes kind of characters and stories that we're already familiar with, and make small tweaks to them to see what kind of effect that would have on the characters and the story. And so it's largely kind of an anthology show, where you have kind of each episode is a different kind of alternate reality within the Marvel universe.
Really well done. I don't know if you're reading a script or whatever, but that was...
I'm not, no.
That was good. That was really good. I'm telling you, Kevin Feige, what are you doing? Give us a call.
You're wasting your time, man. Get over here.
Yeah. So that's absolutely right. So even though each individual story is kind of its own thing, there is, like you said, overarching theme to the end of this run for the first season. So let's go ahead and delve into the show itself. How do you want to start this again?
So what were your overall thoughts?
My overall thoughts on the show. I honestly, this, besides like Loki, I probably had the most like wide-ranging hopes of what this could be, even more than the other shows. Loki for sure is just like my going into Loki, like there's so many possibilities. This one inherently has that built in. So when I actually started watching the show, and realized quickly what it was going to be, I was somewhat disappointed, but also still entertained by the show itself. Overall, the scenarios were very interesting, and the way that they revealed them and played them out were really well done. But I feel like there was a lot still left on the table that they could have done to really just knock it out of the park. But for me, some of the episodes I was like blown away, entertained, and some of them was like, okay, that was good. But overall, a really good show.
Yeah, I liked it. I sometimes feel like I liked it maybe more than other people, like just kind of, looking at stuff online. And we can kind of get into this when we talk about the first episode, but I think that, I kind of enjoyed the episodic nature to it. I think I was really weary of the animation style going into it, just from the little bits that we had seen. And I really enjoyed, especially when there was like action, a lot of movement. I think some of the action sequences in this series are some of the best sequences we've ever had in Marvel.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it was strangely a show that I was able to kind of put aside too many of my expectations and just kind of be in the moment, which I'm not usually able to do very well. So I think that helped me to kind of enjoy it that much more.
I gotcha. That makes sense. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. So delving into the episodes themselves, should we start with the very first one?
Yeah, because I think the first one is a real litmus test. I think there's maybe the most, I don't want to say controversy, but people, I feel like people are kind of all over the place on how they felt about this first one.
Well, and it's also the most non-severe change to story, as far as not what they changed, but as far as the actual story that played out. I mean, it's literally the first Captain America movie, putting Agent Carter in the place as Captain America. So like the actual story itself was almost beat for beat the same thing as Captain America, but putting her in that role, yeah, a lot of people there was a decent amount of people who were upset about it. They're just absolutely stupid. I mean, obviously that's your girlfriend, your Marvel girlfriend that they're talking about there. So put some goddamn respect on her name. Oh. And for me, I think, and it goes back to what you just said about the action and the movement of it. This episode really, like from the get-go, showed you when she had the first encounter after taking the serum and fights the vehicles and is throwing people around, like it looks super smooth. It was absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. And I effing loved it. And it was one of those moments, like when you see a Star Wars movie experience for the first time, or a badass Marvel, like you almost like cry out in joy after something happens. Like that's what I got from a lot of the sequences in this episode.
I think too, it's tough because there's kind of the core hardcore comic audience, like us, who's maybe more familiar with things, and then there's the more general audience. And I think it's a tough thing for them to balance, because they're making they're spending millions of dollars on these shows, and they want as many people as possible to be able to enjoy them.
Yeah.
So I felt like it made a lot of sense for them to say, okay, well, we want at least one episode that is more straightforward, and let's just kind of help. This episode's gonna help people to understand what the concept is of this show. And it did kind of follow some of the beats, but it did change it in certain ways that are interesting, including kind of the after post-credits sequence or scene at the end of the last episode, kind of potentially setting stuff up.
Yeah, and also just the very ending confrontation as well.
Yeah. And I think it really kind of set the tone. I think that's maybe something that I appreciated about it that maybe other people didn't, or those people who didn't like this episode as much, was that I felt like it was a really good way to kind of get not just the average audience, but even us as more hardcore audiences kind of into the show in a way that is more easily accessible.
I agree 100%. And I think it's the way to go, because if they were to start off with like what if zombies, that's really throwing it into the deep end right from the get-go, and they made the right choice with what they started off with.
Yeah, plus like you said, it's Haley Atwell. I mean, come on.
I love her so much, her voice and everything. She's such a good actress. I loved her in Cinderella. You know what I mean? Like she was so good.
I think too, it kind of showed the kind of the characterization. They took that same character who we had the TV show, but her experience, going through the experience of the serum, really changes who she is, and the kind of almost childlike joy that she had as she was kind of discovering all these amazing things she was able to do. I thought that was really fun.
And you're obviously referring to the live action TV show Agent Carter that she got after the run, which was a good show and honestly had a lot of potential, especially the way they ended it. But I'm glad that they're giving her more than just the nod in Civil War, Civil War, and then at the end of Endgame as well.
I guess technically it's a nod.
She's in the movie, I mean,
she's not, but I guess hypothetically her dead body is there during the funeral.
There's a sequence. There's a sequence. But yeah, the first episode, a great introduction to the whole series overall, and I think they did it well enough that it definitely brought people back next week.
I don't know if you want to keep this up, but kind of another on-air production meeting. But would you want to try maybe at the end of each episode that we talk about, just do a quick like favorite moment?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. For me, it's that sequence when she fights it's got to be. I mean, there's obviously at the end some really cool sequences with Red Skull and the fake Shumagorath creature or whatever. But yeah, like what you literally just said about like Peggy was gleefully happy just wrecking Nazis, and I'm all for it.
You're staunch anti-Nazi.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Surprisingly, that's not an opinion everyone holds.
No, it's a shocking bit of revelation, but yeah, fuck Nazis. So with that, did you have a different one?
No, yeah, I'll say the same one, and then this applies to every episode, and so not. I think another enjoyable part of this whole series is the fact they were able to bring so many people back to voice the characters. They weren't able to bring back everyone, but we were talking about Haley Atwell. I think just as a blanket statement for all of this, being able to bring back so many people to kind of reprise their roles made it that much more enjoyable.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Oh, you want to do it? Go ahead.
Turns. Yeah, we'll go back and forth.
Go ahead, bitch.
I'll do all right. Even.
My bad.
So the next episode is what if T'Challa became Star-Lord?
Yeah.
Do we want to do like a synopsis on these, or just kind of go?
Let's just go into it.
Okay. I feel like a lot of people really like this one. Yeah. I really like this one. This is probably one of the more fun ones. Something that get pretty dark and serious. This one is pure, just fun.
For the most part, there is a bit of sadness, obviously, in it, in the inherent setup of that. Chadwick Boseman, who is no longer with us, unfortunately. It's one of the last times you're going to hear him portray T'Challa in the MCU, and you could kind of you can hear the heart in his voice as he's not only saying a lot of whys. Like, this T'Challa is such a badass, not even just like fighting wise, but just his modesty, his humility, his level-headedness, I can't even say that, and dealing with not even just like bad people like Thanos, but good people like Yondu. All around, just I wish we could have seen more of what Chadwick Boseman could have done with Black Panther and T'Challa in general, just from this one episode. I mean, I absolutely effing loved it.
Yeah, I mean, this idea that he defeated Thanos through conversation, like through just kind of, convincing him that what he was trying to do wasn't the right thing to do. I mean, the whole episode is just about how T'Challa gets out into the universe and just makes everything better.
Yeah. And like you're saying, the whole funness, there's so many moments, but I feel bad, I don't know his character's name, but gosh darn it, the guy, what's that?
Sean Gunn?
No, the guy who has like the cybernetic, he's the one that confronts Star-Lord at the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's just like, who? Like, how much of a fanboy he was to Star-Lord. It was so good. Like, they continuously kept doing it too, and like they did it, it wasn't over the top, like it was believable, and you just love the interaction with that character and T'Challa. Korath is his name.
Korath.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Diamond Hanju?
Yeah.
Oh wait, I have it in front of me, I should be looking at it.
DJINON.
Yeah, I just said it. I mean, you don't have to.
I'm just saying, like, you might have fucked it up. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, the actual plot of the story is basically a caper.
Yeah.
Which obviously is also, typically a pretty fun, kind of genre of movies. Did you have, what would you say was your kind of favorite moment?
That's a good question. I would say probably the sequence prior to the planning of this, just the reveal of Thanos, because like the way they did it, they had Korath saying, hey, what was your favorite escapade that you went on? And T'Challa saying what it was, and then just like the abrupt introduction of Thanos being cool with all of them. There's a lot of weird things that happened in this series that I was like, oh shit, that was one of them. I was like, okay, wow, they're really doing this, and still having Thanos be who he is, but like I want to know what T'Challa said to Thanos. Like I wish I just as like a transcript. I think that they should come out with that. I think that'd be really cool, because that was brilliant. I love how they did that. And overall, Korath's fanboyism with T'Challa, I think, was just amazing. What about you?
Yeah, that's really good. I think that's a really good scene, kind of demonstrating kind of what's possible with the show.
Yeah.
I think we're doing this very much off the top of our heads. So, and I haven't seen this in maybe a couple months. But the first thing that comes to mind is that the scene that you mentioned in the beginning, they kind of recreate the scene from Guardians of the Galaxy where Star-Lord's taking the Power Stone.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so again, it helps to kind of, we're starting with something that we're very familiar with, and then it goes in a totally different direction. And like you said, I think the humor of it was amazing and really enjoyable. And then also again, the action in the show was in the series was pretty good, and just kind of getting kind of an introduction to part of the reason why this version of Star-Lord is such a badass was really enjoyable.
Yeah, just the fact that Korath gets knocked out, and then T'Challa takes him and like saves him, even though he was just trying to arrest him. Like, it's just straight up badass. So yeah, that was the second episode, which I thought was a great second episode to do. They really give the heart of the series right out of the gate. So going into the third episode was one of the episodes that really caught me off guard and how they set it up. And that is the what if the world lost its mightiest heroes. And this was one of the ones where I was not sure what route they were going into, because in the trailers it made it seem like Black Widow had become some sort of dark assassin kind of a scenario to me. But as the episode goes on, you know, there's so many different characters. Iron Man gets killed off at the beginning mysteriously from an injection at the end of, or in the middle of Iron Man 2, and then it goes from there where, you know, Thor gets killed as he's trying to lift the hammer, and I don't know about you, but for me, I'm usually good about picking out like what's happening in a story, and this one I wasn't sure up until 3/4 into the episode. But how did you feel about it?
I enjoyed it. I think, you know, I keep going back to kind of the general reception of things.
Yeah.
I think this, you know, some people did complain about this one's basically a murder mystery episode. Some people complained about the way that they revealed it, just in that, you know, generally with a murder mystery, you know, you should be including kind of clues early in the story that people can potentially latch onto to figure out what's going on. You know, the reveal of what was really going on, you know, was mostly abrupt. There wasn't too many clues beforehand.
Yeah, there was some clues to give them some sort of a, but I mean, I agree with you 100%. It felt very abrupt.
I enjoyed it. I mean, you know, I think as us being very much kind of, you know, cued into this and kind of all in, I was okay with the kind of sudden reveal of the crazy eyebrowed
crazy eyebrowed Ant-Man or Hank Pym. Jesus Christ, somebody get him a pair of freaking tweezers. My God, man.
So I guess he hasn't met Scott Lane at this point yet.
No, Scott Lane's probably in jail, if anything, or he's probably in jail right now for trying to take down that company. There is some pretty badass moments in that episode where Loki, who, you know, at this point is a full-on leader of Asgard, comes to Earth and is like, my brother's been killed. I bring consequences of this. And when they finally realize who it is and have Nick Fury confront crazy eyebrow Hank Pym, there's some badass, you know, he gets his ass worked by Loki, you know, playing a disguised self, not to give a D&D reference. You know, Nick Fury, he fucking nerd. And you know, there's a lot of acrobatics and badass moves by, you know, just like you knew right away as soon as Nick Fury is doing a somersault and shit, you're like, okay, that obviously isn't him. So there is some pretty badass moments, but this is probably one of my least favorite episodes overall from this series. But I like what they try to do. You know, it's like there's a heist episode, there's a murder caper episode, and they did it realistically. The execution wasn't my favorite though.
Yeah, I think from now on we should just refer to that version of Hank Pym as Brow Pym.
Brow Pym. Oh my God. I love it. People in watching and chat, if you're down with Brow Pym, please put F's in the chat. Yeah. Favorite moment from this episode? What do you got? Big thinkies right there. You really. I'm gonna drop some big thinkies from Mental Misplays emote. There you go, big thinky.
I don't know. I enjoyed kind of having the moments with Black Panther or Black Widow. Yeah, I guess we've already kind of talked about it. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, I'll just say that, I guess, it was... Well, no, I'll say this. They went back to Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. You know, I think maybe the Incredible Hulk doesn't get... You know, it's not been completely abandoned, but we don't get a lot from it. Still hoping for a Liv Tyler to show back up, but kind of going back to that movie, getting that weird kind of amalgamation of Edward Norton and Mark
Yeah,
Ruffalo.
that's right. They changed how Hulk looked, and it was all right. But yeah, it was not.
Well, even just the Bruce Banner version they had, because it wasn't really Mark Ruffalo, but it wasn't really Edward Norton either. It was almost like they kind of took the two actors' faces together and kind of created some midway between the two of them.
I mean, that was Mark Ruffalo doing the voice, but yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. But as far as like the way the character visually looked, but
Yeah.
I thought that was fun. Kind of going back to that movie. How about you?
Just the fake Nick Fury doing the somersaults. I mean, that's just the fact that I'm not finding a moment that I'm like, it's absolutely this, just lends to the fact that this is not their strongest episode.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is kind of perfect if you want to just segue into the next episode.
So the next one is, what if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? And so in his movie, he gets in a car accident, his hands are injured, and he's not able to do surgery anymore, and that's why he gets into magic. In this one, he has his kind of love interest in the car with him, and that's all you can really call her at this point, because that's maybe the one weird thing about the episode is that, and maybe in this universe they are actually dating, but in the actual MCU they're more kind of, will they, won't they? But
well, it's different universes, so that makes sense.
Yeah. In this reality, she dies in the car accident, and so he gets into magic instead of to fix his hands. He gets into magic to try and bring her back, and it's a whole spiral. This is one of the stronger episodes.
Yeah, I was trying to lay this up to you, going from probably the weakest episode with the what if the world lost its mightiest heroes to, I would say, the strongest episode in the whole series right here.
Maybe I'd say this is definitely probably the best episode, but kind of given the way things happen, it's probably not necessarily everyone's favorite, or like it's definitely not the most enjoyable. This one gets real dark.
Oh yeah, it gets super dark. I mean,
Yeah.
He not only, because that's the thing, like you say that he gets into magic to bring Christine Palmer, his love interest, back. He not only like goes 1,000 years, I think, just trying to learn all the magic he can, but he starts summoning some of the darkest creatures in the multiverse to consume them, to take their power, and that sequence alone was just like super duper dark. And you have, I think, the first time where the Watcher, I don't know if we brought this up, but the Watcher, who's been watching all of this happen, not only has he saying his dialogue, but I think this is the first time that one of the characters actually hears him and has some sort of a somewhat interaction with him. It definitely lend more toward the darker side of what is going on in this overall series, and I definitely enjoyed it. I thought it was super super dark and very much metal at times.
It's really well done. I mean, the whole story, the way they, it's almost kind of like a, if we're talking about kind of different genres episodes, it's almost like a super dark Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
Where he's reliving that moment every, a bunch of times,
True.
And trying to fix it, and it always ends with her death. I think another enjoyable thing about this is, the way that they portrayed magic in fights, just in the whole MCU at times has been kind of hit or miss.
Yeah.
It's really Doctor Strange is where they do it really well, and with everyone else, not so much. It's basically just like people throwing like, magic beams at each other.
Yep.
But this was such a perfect example of kind of what's possible with, kind of showing people use magic in fighting. It can be so creative and interesting. And the fight with him, with the two Doctor Stranges, was just like amazing.
So going into that, what is your favorite moment from? There honestly is quite a few. The consuming of the creatures and him transforming a little bit from that is amazing. The fight, what do you got?
I mean, we'll make a point to do two different ones. It's the obvious one, but that kind of climactic fight between the two of them is just amazing. Visually, and just the way it's constructed, and even the story through line is part of the fight. Some with a lot of fight scenes in movies, it's just like the fighting itself doesn't really continue the story. It's just
True.
You imagine the script. It's like, okay, this happens, they fight, and then the script continues, as opposed to the story being part of what's going on.
Yeah, you look at Civil War and that end fight scene, like that whole if ends fight scene between the three of them really continued the story. Same thing with this.
Yeah, it's just visually just amazing. So what about you? Which one?
It's got to be summoning the creatures. I mean, it's so much taps back into my D&D interest of just like nerd. Just honestly, I love that sort of thing. And not only summoning like a wide variety of creatures, but having a bit of humor. Like he consumes the bug type creature with the cape and takes the cape. I love that. He took the cape. God damn, man.
I mean, that's just nice. Another nice thing about this whole series is, you just get to see kind of random stuff. Like they can kind of throw things in there, and it's not, they're not having to be precious or worry about, okay, well, if we include this in this movie, like what effect does that have for things going forward?
Yeah.
They can kind of just do whatever they want.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely freeing. I would say.
Yeah.
You could tell. So going from there to a very strong episode to another very strong episode in my eyes, and a lot of people, when they announced What If in general, were really looking forward to, is What If Zombies. Now, in the Marvel Comics, Zombies has a couple of different iterations of that. One of them being, what the hell's his name? Kirkman. God damn it, I forgot.
Yeah.
Robert Kirkman, thank you, who used actually the comic book zombies from Marvel to get ready his Walking Dead comic book, kind of get the feel of it going, and then obviously the TV show. There was so many possibilities going into this, and the way it works out is Ant-Man, after going to the quantum realm, or no, it's not. It is... Wait, no, was it Hank Pym or was it Scott Lang?
Hank Pym. It's Ant-Man and the Wasp.
But Hank Pym goes in?
When he goes to get Janet Van Dyne out.
And she's been infected by some sort of... They call it a quantum virus, essentially.
Yeah.
But it's zombies. And infects, Hank. They come back out and it's just chaos from there. Everyone starts getting taken out and becomes a zombie. Captain America, all the biggest ones, because they go confront this zombie. That was kind of like the really messed up thing. They land in the quad jet and they have this whole, Avengers moment where they pose, and then all of a sudden, just to do my boy Captain America wrong, Hank Pym as Mini Pym just jumps up and bites him in the neck, and it's over from there. Everyone just starts getting taken out zombie wise, and the whole planet is just zombies. They jump forward to what is the Zombieland-esque Spider-Man, delving into how things really are. And I thought there was a lot of humor in this episode, but as you continue on with the story, it gets super, super dark.
I think that's maybe one thing that was a little uneven about it. I mean, it's tough with zombie movies because if you're kind of taking it on face value, you're talking about a whole lot of death and a whole lot of dark, terrible things.
Yeah.
So when you include humor, I think it can be kind of tricky. I think it was tough with Peter because, he had a decent amount of humor, especially that kind of opening. It's not the open of the movie, but of the show, but that sequence where he does kind of Zombieland-esque video. It's being very funny, but like everyone he knows is dead. Like he's already gone through so much kind of pain and terrible things. So I think that was maybe one kind of nitpicky thing about the episode, was sometimes it felt like it was a little all over the place as far as kind of the humor of it.
Yeah, I could agree with that. But then on the flip side of that, the darkness of it, at times, like Captain America, who, like I said, he was infected. There was the train sequence where he goes up against Bucky, and Bucky literally takes his Captain America's shield and just halves him into the wall. Sharon Carter, her getting infected as well. Like there were some dark moments, and I think the darkest has to be, if you want to delve into, our boy Vision and what he was up to.
Yeah, I had you read any of the zombie comics?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have some right here. Oh no, I moved my bookcase. I have some back there.
Well, so we don't want to get too in the weeds with each episode. Yeah, I mean, the bit with what he was doing was kind of pulled from the comics with
Yep.
T'Challa. I mean, literally. It's a little bit different. And then the comics, they're looking for a cure, I believe. But
Well, and it was Hank Pym that was the one that was doing that.
yeah. But also in the comics, in the kind of less limited run, the zombies were a bit different. The zombies were kind of more of the main characters, and they maintain more of their actual personality and intelligence. So how do you feel about kind of that choice to kind of go with more of a traditional zombies?
I think it's probably easier for a Marvel familiar audience to just have like the traditional kind of zombie instead of zombies who have their personality and intelligence. It's just easier story wise to just have hordes of zombies, but they still have their powers. But I would have been nice. I feel like there's so much going on with this episode, it would have made it even more complicated to do it the other way.
Yeah, I think that's another tough thing with this episode, is that there's just so much there.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that people were maybe a little disappointed with the series, was that we didn't get more of it later on, since they kind of ended up kind of bringing everyone together at the end. They end with a big cliffhanger. So I would definitely be interested in kind of having them do another one of these episodes. For the second season.
You imagine they would have to. They've obviously hinted toward a few things for the second season, but the zombies has to be one. I do have to say, to go into what is like my favorite moment, floating head Ant-Man, Scott Lang with the Doctor Strange cape, has to be not only of this episode, but one of my favorite moments of this whole season so far. Absolutely brilliant. Probably a little too much toward the humor side, especially when like everyone's literally dying and whatnot, but goddamn, just so funny.
Yeah, that was great. And not to get too much into the humor, but yeah, I think if they would have kind of either gone, we're going humorous with it and everything's funny, or we're gonna go just dark and everything was kind of more dark, it might have worked a little better. Let me see, I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the humor. I think that's probably the thing that keeps coming to mind. So I'm kind of thinking of some of the other funny moments. Maybe the opening. I think that kind of helped to set the tone too.
Yeah.
They kind of jump into Infinity War basically, with Hulk. Only instead of finding, a world where Thanos is gonna be showing up soon, it's a world of zombies.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny, and was kind of a good way to kind of get us into this reality.
Yeah, because it, like the way they have Hulk landing, like it's one of the most familiar things in the MCU. And then very recent, and to flip it right there, I think is the smartest thing to do, because they could have introduced this at any time, but the best way to do it for sure.
Yeah.
Good. Anything else you'd like to say about this episode?
No, but I'm doing even numbers, so.
Go ahead.
The next episode is What If Killmonger Rescued Tony Stark. This episode was okay. I didn't feel like this was as strong of an episode. I really like Killmonger, so I always enjoy kind of getting more of him and kind of seeing, just seeing him. So I did enjoy that, but I think one thing that maybe this episode suffers from is it doesn't feel like it necessarily has much of like an arc or a story. I think that the stronger episodes are the ones that feel like they really have kind of a beginning, middle, and end, whereas this one felt more like almost like a proof of concept. But I enjoy that character, and then I always enjoy kind of seeing more of him.
Yeah, and to delve into what this story, it says Killmonger rescued Tony Stark, but beginning of Iron Man 1, right before he gets kidnapped, Killmonger shows up and just kind of wrecks shop. Basically, just throws a wrench into everyone's plans throughout this whole episode. You know, Ironmonger, Tobias, Stain or whatever, just wrecking his plans, wrecking Happy's plans. To be fair, you know, Jon Favreau is Happy. He's trying to become the head of security, and Killmonger said, "F that, you're not going to be head of security, sir."
Wait, so can we talk about Jon Favreau, because I believe he came back, didn't he?
Yeah, it was him.
They did him dirty.
Yeah, they really did.
Character model.
they really did.
Look like him. It's not a very flattering
No
rendition of him.
No. I don't know why they did that. They brought a lot of people back in this episode. Paul Bettany, you know, Andy Serkis, the guy who actually played T'Challa's dad, John Connie. I mean, just about everybody who was in Don Cheadle.
Mostly Bib, like in a throwaway moment.
Yeah. Holy shit. Oh yeah, that's right. The reporter. Holy crap.
Just like on TV in the background.
Yeah, like they really wanted to bring it, and I love Killmonger, like you said, as a character, and I have the really high hopes from this because I feel like he's one of the more interesting villains in the MCU. But it almost seemed like as if I were to have written the story, kind of a scenario where, you know, I feel like I'm a decent story writer, but it's obviously not as pristine, crisp writing as somebody who's a veteran. You know, a good story, but the execution wasn't the greatest. But I enjoy getting more Killmonger, so I thought it was a good episode, but just not the greatest one for sure.
Yeah, just felt more like it was for service. Like they knew maybe they wanted to use him in the finale, so they had maybe they reverse engineered it.
Yeah, you're definitely spoiling toward what the finale is. A lot of the people from each individual episodes, you know, getting taken. Yeah.
At least some elements.
At least some, yeah. For me, my favorite part, I don't know. It's. Go ahead.
What was your favorite part of this episode?
Thank you. I don't know. This is a tough one because there's definitely a lot of really cool moments. But to say my favorite, I don't know. I honestly, this is the one episode where I can't just say outright. I know exactly what it is. The Gundam style mech, those like flat out yes. Anything Gundam, I'm all about. So Gundam in MCU, yes. Killmonger making Gundam, that's what I'm all about.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of obvious enjoyable moments. Yeah, I don't know. Nothing really jumps out. I'll say the scene between Killmonger and T'Challa. You know, in the I can't remember what they called it, but like the astral plane or whatever it is, where they kind of you know, T'Challa's been killed, Killmonger killed T'Challa. Now they're kind of talking about kind of where things are at. The conversation between the two of them was pretty interesting, and they're both such good actors. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Another moment where you get to hear Chadwick Boseman portray. There was 4 moments, I believe. It was the zombies, the what if T'Challa, Star-Lord, this one, and then there'll be one more down the line. But yeah, anytime I got to hear Chadwick Boseman, and you could hear in his voice the strength of what he was going through in real life, like how he was dealing with it. Like it must have been hard, and I absolutely love Chadwick Boseman. Yeah, straight up. So yeah, that was that one. I don't think we need to talk too much more about that episode.
No, we're good.
So going into the next one, I thought was probably the funnest one out of all of these. I mean, inherently has to be, but what if Thor were an only child? So at the beginning of Thor, you get the backstory where Odin attacks Jotunheim, the frost giant planet, and Rex Shop finds the baby Loki. Instead of taking baby Loki with him to raise as his own, he leaves him there, or I think reunites him with the father. Is the story?
Yeah, because I think in the actual universe, Loki was a runt, and so he was left to die.
Yeah,
like they had kind of abandoned him.
Yep. So this one,
so I'm assuming, I hope at one point we can get the an actual version of this scene, because I'm assuming what happened was Odin showed up to Laufey and said, "Oh, hey, look, I found your son. Like he was just kind of, laying
Luffy. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow, I was looking for him.
Oh,
Thank
man,
you so
wait.
much."
It just like Laufey just like hits the guy on the side. Cancel all those search parties for my son. And the guy's just like, wait, what are you talking about? Shut up. Told you. We're searching for Loki, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is actually a pretty good. That'd be a good flashback for some sort of like sequel to this episode. Loki as the Frost Giant version, talking about him, being searched for by his father or whatever. Like what his father told him, kind of the scenario. So because of that, Loki not being the brother of Thor is really just straight up frat bro. He loves to party hardy, is what it seems like. And it led to a lot of super funny moments. When I guess it's kind of when the parents go out of town kind of experience, Odin is sleeping. He's doing his Odin sleep, and Freya's got a ladies' night or ladies' weekend sort of scenario. She goes out of town. Thor decides to go to Midgard, goes to Earth, and have himself a good old time. And that's where it kind of starts off from the actual movie Thor, which I thought, honestly, the bizarro change to all of this, and also at the same time keeping in with the movie, is probably one of the best ones. Like they started off at the beginning of Thor, but like how they change it and how bizarre it was. I thought like the two of those together was really well done, to be honest with you, because it's such a weird scenario to me where Thor not only shows up at the same time or whatever from the movie, but like how different it is from the movie is I thought brilliant.
Yeah, I think this one suffers from a similar problem as the Killmonger one, in that there isn't a real strong story in this episode as far as like a beginning, middle, and an end.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the idea of this is really interesting and fun. I really enjoyed it, but the actual kind of plot of this episode is pretty bare. I enjoyed.
Well, just to go back to that though, I feel like where the Killmonger one had a very, it was kind of all over the place. It suffered from the seriousness of it, whereas this one, it was kind of all over the place. The humor of it helped out all of that.
It helped, but it also, it's kind of part of the problem too, just in that, it feels like they thought to themselves, oh, okay, let's do like you said, like a party version of Thor.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be fun. And I imagine they probably had so many ideas of things they can do and all these kind of fun little moments and kind of things.
Yeah.
But there wasn't really a story to it. Like, they basically tried to do the idea that he was kind of wrecking Earth and, S.H.I.E.L.D. was going to have to intervene. But, it didn't really feel like there was that many stakes.
The biggest stake was Freya, mom showing up to kind of...
Yeah, but they should have leaned on that more, if anything. It felt like that was kind of a smaller portion of the episode, and if they would have really embraced the genre of kind of teenage party movie or whatever you want to call it, it might have been a little more fun.
I feel like one thing from this episode really showed us that don't effing trust Maria Hill with S.H.I.E.L.D. Jesus Christ. She just like, let's just nuke the population. She must have been trained by the freaking council from the first Avengers movie. Just like, absolutely. And they did it too, which is the crazy thing. It's absolutely bizarro for me. But what do you think is your favorite moment from this episode?
Well, just since we haven't talked about it, obviously, like there's a lot of really fun moments in the partying and the kind of fun and games, so to speak. Since we haven't talked about it yet, I'll just say the fight between Thor and Captain Marvel was really good. There's still some funny moments, and it's not a super serious fight, but the two of them are so powerful. Just seeing them just kind of fighting all over the Earth, and flying around, and yeah, I thought that was pretty fun.
Absolutely. I mean, that was definitely one we had to bring up.
Yeah.
I hate to say this, but Darcy marrying Howard the Duck has got to be my favorite moment from that episode.
That montage.
So
like,
good.
They get tattoos.
Yeah, everything. The montage, that whole, I would say that whole sequence of them partying. And that was so cool about Natalie Portman, who actually came back to voice Jane Foster. They had just so many cool experiences in that montage and everything, and showing everyone else showing up. I thought it was really brilliant. So the whole montage, I guess, would be my biggest one. But Kat Denny as Darcy, I guess, being straight up a furry. You know, she loves her animals. Marrying, yeah, all about that, and no judgment, straight up, no judgment. So yeah, definitely one of the more fun episodes for sure.
Yeah. So next one is What If Ultron Won, which is basically just the idea that, you know, instead of losing to the Avengers in Age of Ultron, he wins and basically just starts wrecking shit.
Yeah, he's a badass in this one. He just effed everyone up.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed that they kind of gave him his due, just in that, you know, obviously with only having him in one movie, they had to kind of get ready. You know, you can't have him just hanging around after the fact, but you know, they kind of did him dirty to a certain degree, and he's so powerful and such a big character in the comics.
Yeah,
you know, I enjoyed getting to see a little more of that. You know, this is kind of the beginning of the conclusion, in that, you know, this version of Ultron ends up being kind of the big bad for the series that brings all these different characters from the different multiverses together. But I feel like they still, you know, put together a fun episode. I think this was, you know, maybe kind of it's not necessarily one of the best episodes, but a really pure example of kind of what if can be, in that we literally just kind of saw what if he won and he becomes the most, you know, one of the most powerful beings in existence.
Yeah, he straight up Pac-Man a universe in this episode. You know, he just
no, not this one. In the next one.
Oh, it is the next one. Are you sure?
Yeah. It's when he's fighting Uatu.
I want to second guess you on that, but I'm not positive. But even still,
right. Wait, no. Does he fight?
He doesn't fight Uatu in the next episode at all.
Oh, you're right. He fights him in this one.
Yeah, because he, like, that's the thing too. Because Uatu, the Watcher race is extremely powerful. Like, they are very powerful, and that just shows you how powerful Ultron is. Uatu was just running for his life, you know, trying to get the hell away from this monster. And the fact, like, he breaks through the barriers in between the universes, and also at the same time has the Infinity Stones, and they're still working. Like, I don't know what the rules are in all of this, or if it's just its own separate thing from the main MCU. But I feel like Ultron was just scary powerful in this whole episode, man.
I don't want to get too in the weeds, but that was something that kind of bothered me, and that's something that people kind of talked a bit about, the idea that the stone shouldn't be working.
Especially after what they just set up in Loki, yeah.
See, the problem is I have the opposite opinion. Because we already saw them use the stones in Endgame, where they pulled them from other universes, and they worked. You know, he snapped the stones. Was it
universes or timelines?
That's the same thing, though. That's
in the same universe. I don't know. That's getting into the weeds. I'm just saying, like, is it a whole different multiverse, or is it the same universe just in a different timeline?
It's another universe, because that's what they said, that when you change something in
a branch universe,
you're creating a branch universe.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the fight with Uatu and Ultron at the end is another really good example of, you know, these two really powerful characters. You know, they have a certain amount of kind of like magic, you could call it, abilities, and the fight between them was really creative and interesting. It wasn't just, you know, shooting beams of energy or like a, you know, no offense, like a Dragon Ball Z, just like, you know, punch, like just powerful punches at each other. Like, there was some creativity.
Motherfucker, hold on a second here. Just like Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, hold on. How many episodes of Dragon Ball Z have you watched, sir?
Too many, however many it is.
You watched some Dragon Ball Super, and you still saying this shit? Get out of here. Vegeta's upset with you. He's on my nipple over here, but he's upset.
He's having a good time. Yeah,
That's where he wants to be.
Now my ball of energy is even bigger than it used to be.
You're getting deeper. Just move on, sir, before we get into a whole different subject here. Can't believe you. I'm gonna get my sonic screwdriver over here and zap your ass.
You fucking nerd.
You nerd. You know what I should do is get a new chair that's like the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones, and be like, what's his face from Parks and Rec? Like that would be the ultimate nerd chair.
Yeah, whatever Adam Scott's character was.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a great job with the fighting. You're absolutely right, though, on what you said. It carried the story further. It showed you really interesting things, what can be done in the MCU in general that they probably should do more of. I'm sure with Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, we're gonna get some wild stuff, especially with Sam Raimi being the director of that. Like I can't even imagine what we're gonna see in the horror / magic side of it. But this is like a taste of what could be done. Are you next or am I next? I totally forgot.
We didn't do favorite moment yet.
Oh, favorite moment. My bad. I've actually been thinking about this a lot out of all these episodes. My favorite moment from this, and maybe possibly the whole season, is this version of Natasha Romanoff. Like this badass version of the Black Widow. I think she got her own movie, or I should say Yelena's movie. Dude, I'll say it. I'll do it. Like they did Black Widow wrong. Yelena was the star of that movie. But this version of Black Widow was what I feel like we should have gotten more of throughout all of MCU, let alone just her own movie. And I really enjoyed seeing that with Clint Barton and her, the interaction and how badass she was. She's a regular human with no superpowers, and everything she did in this episode was absolutely believable.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta give a shout out to Lake Bell.
She does a great job voicing her. Yeah. Very good job. I love Lake Bell. I think she's an amazing actress.
Yeah, she's great.
Shout out to Kevin Feige. Give Lake Bell her own role. What the fuck?
Find something for you.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you a question, but we want to kind of keep going. We'll save it for later. Another podcast. We'll do a fan cast of Lake Bell in the MCU.
Oh, that's a great one. All right.
Yeah, I think the infight is kind of an obvious answer.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something different. I mean, I think that it was maybe a little bit what's that word? Polarizing, but the moment with Ultron and Thanos.
Shit.
I thought it was fun.
Yeah, just chops him in half, man.
I think there's one problem with Infinity War, and it had to be this way, but Vision is super strong, and if they had him in Infinity War at actual full strength, like they probably would have won, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's why story-wise, they have to take him out early on, and then it makes sense.
So it was fun to kind of give him his due, kind of acknowledge the fact that he probably wouldn't be like, that was maybe a little bit more than he'd be able to do, like it was a little maybe overpowerful, but yeah, he would be super powerful against Thanos.
That would have been an awesome sequence, but kick-ass moment for sure. You're just like, oh, all right, well, Thanos is dead. Sure enough, PP behind the other. So that is Ultron Won. Do you do the last one? I forgot.
No, you're
I'm wrapping it up. All right. So what if the last episode? What if the Watcher broke his oath? And honestly, is what this whole season is trying to lead to, where the Watcher is doing what his namesake is and watching all of this happen, and his race of observer aliens, that's what they're supposed to do, is just watch things that happen in the universe but not interact. And obviously with Ultron, what are we calling this? Ultron, Infinity Ultron, or um,
Sure.
Vis Ultron? I don't know, but whatever. This version of Ultron is just that dangerous. He's destroying so many universes that Watu has to assemble the multiverse. What is it? The Guardians of the Multiverse team, which I love that idea. You know, like I didn't think that's how they were going to do it. I thought they were going to, you know, have to bring a team together, but to literally call it the Guardians of the Multiverse, which is so on brand. I absolutely loved it. And the fact that it wasn't even just the strongest possible people to bring in was another good choice. You know, it's very telling that Watu knew the strengths fighting wise and like fighting prowess wise of everyone, but also the weaknesses, and to use those weaknesses to his advantage. And it was probably one of the strongest episodes in all of this, fighting wise. Like the fight sequence between Ultron and these Guardians of the Multiverse was really brilliantly done. But what did you feel about it?
Yeah, I liked it. You know, it suffers. The episode suffers a little bit, just in that, you know, you kind of quickly jump in. I enjoyed the beginning where Uatu is kind of, you know, I choose you, to all these kind of little Pokemon.
Yeah, that's a good description of it.
But largely the episode is kind of the battle between them, and you get a little bit of kind of character moment, but you know, it's maybe kind of a little bit of a nitpicky thing. If it would have been maybe enjoyable to get a little bit more kind of plot outside of just the big fight, but the big fight itself is so massive, you kind of have to give it as much time and energy as you can.
Yeah, I agree. The chemistry between all the people I thought was done extremely well. The different teammates and everything. They foreshadowed, I think, some of the portrayals really well, leading into the fight. You know, Killmonger, somebody obviously Watu knew that is not to be trusted, and the way they kind of foreshadowed his intentions, I thought was done well. But Doctor Strange, by far, his fighting prowess. I mean, there's a meme out there where it's like the Guardians of the Multiverse strength level, and it's like 100%, and it shows like everyone, and then it just shows Doctor Strange, and it's like Guardians of the Multiverse strength level 99%. Like that's how much I think Doctor Strange kind of carried all of the team, but they needed everyone to be a part of this to kind of fully accomplish what Uatu was trying to do, though.
I know, you wonder if that version of Doctor Strange could have beaten Ultron by himself even.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so... I think Ultron's fighting in this suffers a little... It's not quite as good as the previous episode.
Yeah.
It's not quite as creative. It's a little more just like, you know, big energy blasts, or like, you know, big explosions.
Well, yeah, and there's those moments where like they all are attacking him, and it's like a hit here, and he goes, oh, and then another hit here, and he's like, oh, and it's like, all right, come the fuck on, you know. These people attacking him one by one and keeping him off guard, like that shit ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, you know, then you get but you know, you gotta do, like, you gotta find some way to.
Exactly.
I mean, some of these, I'm trying to think of all the people who are fighting. Are they all at least superpowered? Well, Killmonger's not. Well, he's had the heart-shaped flower
plant or whatever. T'Challa has just the attachments or whatever. That's probably the only person who's not superpowered, really.
Yeah, I thought it was a good kind of conclusion to the whole season too. You know, I think the idea that the series didn't exist for this purpose, but ultimately they kind of it all kind of built to this. I maybe didn't feel like, and they didn't necessarily have to do this, but it wasn't necessarily satisfying kind of story conclusion for all these characters. You know, our girl Black Widow got a kind of a nice kind of conclusion to her story.
Yeah.
But yeah, for some of the other characters, maybe not quite as much.
I agree. But a very interesting way they decided to end it with Zoloff taking over Ultron, and then that's what I call him, Zoloff.
Zoloff?
Yeah, is a prescription drug, you know.
For boners or depression, isn't it?
Yeah, seriously. And then God damn it, that's got me all messed up. Zola, sorry. And then Killmonger taking his chance and trying to get the Infinity Stones, which I thought that was really intelligent, where Ultron is made out of vibranium, and obviously Killmonger, being from Wakanda and very familiar with vibranium, was able to try to steal all of that. I thought that was smart, but then harking back to Doctor Strange and creating some sort of like mini universe capsule. Yeah, like I thought that was really well done. And we got to see more of this Doctor Strange. He's just that entertaining to me.
I feel like you're probably not into this kind of stuff. There was a kind of a supposed leak of the storyline for, I think, No Way Home. Did you read any of that?
Absolutely not. I'm the exact opposite of wanting to effing hear that.
To be honest, it sounds 100% like a fan wrote it and included like the most obvious, kind of stupid things. Oh no, it was for Doctor Strange too. But yeah, I think everyone's definitely hoping that this character can come back in some form.
I agree, and please stop talking about that.
I will say 1000% that leak is complete bullshit. Like it is so obviously just someone put together like the most stupid, obvious stuff that doesn't make any sense. Like that's the thing you can tell with these supposed leaks, when you can tell that they're BS.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no actual like story structure to it. Like as a story, it's not something that any intelligent screenwriter would ever put together.
Yeah.
It's just a collection of things.
Well, they got to start somewhere. The ideas themselves. But going into what's the favorite moment of this episode for you?
I'll say the moment with Black Widow, the kind of orphaned Ultron version of Black Widow. I think that her character throughout all these different episodes was pretty strong.
Yeah.
So, even though it's technically different versions of the same character, it still felt like, kind of paying honor to that kind of character in general, and just felt good for her too. Like, her as a human being is in a world where everyone is dead. Like, not even just like on Earth, just like
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Like
Yeah.
there is no life anywhere.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed kind of that happy moment for her.
I agree.
How about you?
Not to be so much of a nerd, but going back to my, I don't know if you know this, my D&D.
Do you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
My D&D roots, brah. But when Doctor Strange puts the rune protection spell on all the different Guardians of the Multiverse, I was like, yeah. Oh yeah, so good, and like all the little bits of the rune pieces breaking off, and knowing that it's getting weaker and weaker. Like, I want to see more of that sort of magic in the next Doctor Strange movie.
Yes.
There's so many cool things you can do with magic in the MCU, and we're getting tastes and bits and parts of it. But I really hope there's so much of that, and that's why, not to hark back to my D&D roots, bro, but I think they can really learn a bit from that.
I feel like you're just trying to set up like a big, like this whole episode is a commercial for Neighborhood RPG.
You got me. Yes, it is. You'll see here shortly. But yeah, that's definitely. I love those bits of information that you get from the storytelling in the combat as well. It's just awesome.
Well, so the next thing would be kind of talking about what comes next, and I think with this series, I guess with all of them, there's kind of two things.
Yeah.
So since we know that they're getting another season,
Yeah.
there's kind of what comes next from this show, but then also what you feel like is um, if there's anything from the show that's going to kind of continue in the greater MCU as well.
Yeah, they obviously set up the post-credit scene, the Captain America, or Steve Rogers, not even Captain America, but Iron Man suit, Steve Rogers, who at the end of the first episode got, went missing, or was it went missing or got taken? Can't remember now at this point.
Nothing. No. I thought they were setting him up for like a Winter Soldier kind of thing.
Yeah.
It might still be, but at the end of the episode, he's fine. Like she gets sucked into the portal.
Yeah.
With Shimogorath, and he's just like, oh shit, I was gonna dance with her. Yeah, he was just fine.
Are you sure? I wonder. Yeah. I gotta go back and rewatch that, but you're probably right. So they definitely hint.
I am.
You were right about the other thing too, with Ultron not eating the universe. So they hint at get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. They hint at him in the modern time coming back. Captain America: Civil War. They found the suit or whatever. So there's obviously those possibilities, but you gotta look at zombies is gonna be making a comeback. Some of the other storylines that they kind of set up but didn't really do. The biggest one, like we were talking about prior to the pod starting, was they grabbed Gamora from a story that we never even saw, where it was Gamora and Iron Man. So that's another, like, are they going to do that in the second season, or is that something that they did but then cut? So there's definitely a lot of possibilities there. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the show, they've supposedly the director, I think, or the producer, come out and said that they are going to have that episode in the next season. And they ended up cutting the entire episode because of COVID. Like they just weren't able to. Yeah, they weren't able to, because they produced this like right in the heart of the beginning of COVID.
That's a good point. Yeah, because the animation, the whole thing is they have to do it such a far ahead of time.
Yeah. And supposedly not only did they cut that episode, but they cut down the length of each episode. So they were going to be, I can't remember. I don't want to say a time and then be wrong again, like I was about Ultron eating the universe. But there's supposed to be like an extra, 10, 15 minutes on each episode.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I'm kind of looking forward to next season, to see if they kind of go back to their original plan with having longer episodes, having 10 of them. Because I think that a lot of the time with these episodes, it kind of felt like it was a little cut short. Like it maybe felt a little less fulfilling than like maybe some of the other series that we've watched.
Yeah.
And that extra little bit of time might be enough to kind of give them the time to really kind of get into each story.
That's a good point. I didn't even know that about the whole COVID thing and them cutting. So I mean, in that aspect, you got to think they did a pretty good job with what they had to, the amount of time they had to work with telling the story. Obviously, some episodes fell a bit short in that aspect, but I thought overall it was a good first venture into an animated alternate timeline sort of series, and I appreciate that this phase in Marvel really seems to be, let's try as much possible different things as possible to see what we can get away with and what may or may not work.
So the one other thing is that they've said that with season 2 they're going to focus mostly on phase 4. Okay. And obviously there's a lot from phase 4 we just haven't really interacted with yet.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, with what little we've had so far, what kind of movie or storyline or characters would you be most interested in getting a what if story from phase 4?
I don't know necessarily if I'm most interested in this, but I feel like with the very rapid upcoming release of the movie The Eternals, I think one of the things that they really could do is what if the Eternals interfered in Infinity War? That would be one that they could easily do and have a lot of different possibilities to kind of play from that. But having said that, obviously the movie isn't out yet. We don't know the true story of why they didn't or did. Maybe they did try to, and they just did. It is that shitty. They're not that good at their job, motherfuckers. They don't know what they're doing. But that would be an interesting one. Another one for me is anything that comes from the Spider-Man movie. What if Doc Ock got into the main MCU, or what if, who knows what the hell's going to happen with that movie? Because there's so many like theories on it that I have to just step back and get the hell away from it, or I'm not going to enjoy the movie. But anything from Spider-Man is definitely a potential for the next season. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny because some of these actually deal with the multiverse, so it makes it a little bit tougher. I mean, the first thing that came to mind was Shang Chi,
which I still haven't fucking seen.
Well, and it's one of the it's one of the few things that's even out yet. There's really only been 2 movies so far in Phase 4.
True.
So maybe that's why I'm kind of thinking of him, but I don't think it's much of a spoiler, but
I love your camera zoomed in as you said spoiler. Spoiler, yeah, it did.
They actually, I don't think they ever called him the Mandarin in the movie. I can't remember. That's not like they don't really use that much.
All right.
This is kind of part of the. This isn't really spoiler, but the idea of it is that he kind of leaves his father, the Mandarin, and kind of has a normal life. And the Mandarin is this like crime lord.
Yeah.
It'd be an interesting story of what if he hadn't done that? What if he had stayed and taken over the 10 rings, and now you have Shang-Chi with the 10 rings
being like the bad guy?
Yeah, in charge of the 10 rings organization.
Ooh,
Shang-Chi is a crime
shit.
lord.
Wow, actually, man, that might be. Yeah, that might be one they have to do. To be honest with you, that sounds amazing to me.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a game changer right there. I was trying to set this up. I don't have it ready, and I feel like,
stupid.
God damn, I'm such a nerd.
Well, we have one other thing to talk about, or do you need to talk about it during this segment?
No, it's this segment. God damn it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have it ready. I was gonna say another what if possibility, and this is me being not serious whatsoever, but a nice what if possibility would have been if if Black Widow was actually the star of her own movie, and then I was gonna do air horn, but yeah, I don't have it ready. So, man, I'm telling you, they really did her wrong in that movie. All right, they did her wrong.
I don't know if I necessarily feel like they did her wrong as much as, it just wasn't...
That movie itself?
Yeah, the movie itself. I mean...
I can see that.
I mean, I can't hold it entirely against them, the idea that they wanted to set up that character, Elena. Yeah, maybe if the movie was just better, or they gave her more. It's like, I feel like what they did with Elena wasn't atrocious or mean to...
No, I loved
Natasha.
Elena.
It's just they didn't do enough for Natasha.
I agree 100%.
I'll agree with that. All right. So what are your final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I thought, considering everything we know now with what they were trying to do with this first series, and obviously the limitations they put themselves, that I really enjoyed. What if, like, as far as like a top 4, favorite Disney Plus shows.
Let's do it. Every series we'll have to
we'll have to
order.
Update this.
Where does this fall?
I would say this falls probably 3rd overall for me.
4
would have to be Falcon Winter Soldier. It's not like, I love the things that they brought to the table and what it does. Obviously set up, spoilers, Captain America 4, but as a storytelling mechanism, I think that's probably the weakest one. This one being the third best. WandaVision being second, and then Loki by far being the best.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Somewhat. I feel like Loki is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like WandaVision is a little bit lower for me. I think it's tough. You can't separate your experience in the moment with logic. I had a lot of problems with the kind of possibilities of the show and what ended up not happening. So I would probably put this one. This might be 4. I might do like 4, like, you know. And I really like the show. I enjoyed it. But I'd probably do What If, Wanda, and then Falcon Winter Soldier.
Oh, you do Falcon Winter Soldier second?
Yeah.
All right, that's fine. You know, I used to have respect for you, but it's all right. It's okay. Bramble's here. Bramble's down here just shaking her head at you. Hey, dog.
No Bramble Cam?
No, Bramble is too sporadic to keep in one place. So trying to do a Bramble cam is not going to ever work, I don't think.
We just do like a cartoon character of Bramble and just
have it come across the screen.
Yeah.
I like that. We'll work on it. So yeah, that is our discussion. Unless you have anything else you want to say about What If?
No. Good
I think
show. Looking forward to what comes next.
Yeah, I definitely think we delved into obviously the majority of what happened. There's some stuff we didn't talk about, but overall a very good first attempt at an animated Disney Plus Marvel show. I think they're gonna learn from this, and hopefully the second season's even stronger, and maybe the episodes are even longer. I'm definitely looking forward to that.
My only other thought would be this is the first MCU animated show.
Yeah.
They've obviously had Marvel animated shows in the past.
Yeah.
So I would be curious to see if they start doing more animated shows.
I think they will.
You know, not just What If, but just take individual characters and give them their own shows, and if they would do it in the same style or kind of how they would approach that would be interesting.
Yeah, and then the same thing with the What If. Like, I hope they take from main MCU stuff, like bring in Daredevil What If or other stuff we haven't seen from the MCU and put into What If. I think that would be cool. They have the rights to that stuff. They could do it. I don't think they need to absolutely use every episode as some sort of storytelling mechanism for the MCU, because some of this stuff wasn't really. So that's just my personal opinion. And
but I think everything they do will probably be set within the MCU. Like you talked about, the zombies is a comic storyline, but they still found a way to do their version of it within the MCU. So if they do include things that are kind of not from within the MCU, I imagine they'll probably still find a way to make it kind of, diegetic.
Well, I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, they would still do something like Daredevil, but put it into the main MCU. But they haven't done anything with Daredevil in the main MCU. They just have the Netflix shows.
Yeah, we'll see if he shows up sometime soon.
Fuck, dude, he is. If you think he's in Spider-Man, you gotta pump your brakes, bro.
I don't think he is.
I don't think he's either. So with that, we are going to. You think? Oh yeah, absolutely has to be in She-Hulk. Absolutely, it has to be like a rival lawyer scenario kind of thing. Absolutely, I fucking love that, and I love She-Hulk so much. You gotta have the strong, badass female character who not only is a badass in her She-Hulk form, but she's a badass as a lawyer, as a human being. Like, She-Hulk is amazing, and I really hope they do her right.
Well, it'll be interesting too because she's kind of a comedic character, and so it'd be really interesting if they did include Charlie Cox in the show. It was almost kind of like a what's the opposite of a comic foil? Like, he's so serious. He'd almost be like Dave Bautista or something. Like, obviously not the same characterization.
Yeah.
But...
When you said Charlie Cox, for whatever reason, my brain went to Charlie Day for some reason. That'd be.
I hope it's Charlie Cox, but I mean,
if they're gonna bring in another Charlie to be Daredevil, Charlie Day might be the way to go.
It'd be interesting, especially the fight scenes.
Oh my God, he's everywhere. He's gonna be Luigi. It's Charlie Day here. So with that, let's go ahead and call this subject a wrap. What we like to do here for people watching, we got a decent amount of viewers, and we appreciate y'all being here and joining us in this discussion of Marvel or anything that we talk about. Maybe next time we talk about D&D. Who knows? Something that
I give you an entire episode a week on DVD on D&D.
Yeah. But we never talk about it in particular subject-wise. But one thing that we like to do before we wrap this up, we just lost like 5 viewers. One thing we like to do as we wrap this up is delve into the things that we are into. I don't know if you have something, Phil, that...
Yeah, you go.
All right, go ahead.
I mean, it's a fair question because I feel like I'm usually haven't thought about it at all, and then I put it together last minute. But
I do that every week.
Yeah. I'm too like ADHD. Like I can't think that far ahead of time.
Yeah.
I've been delving into the Adobe kind of creative programs.
Nice.
I got the subscription to the entire kind of catalog of programs, and it's kind of my plan to learn. I'm relatively familiar with Photoshop and Premiere, but less with pretty much all the other ones. So I'm starting with Illustrator, but I'm gonna go through and learn all of the different programs, and so I'm doing tutorials for Illustrator. I'm kind of 3 hours into this one tutorial. Just kind of learning how to kind of do more kind of graphic design type work, which
Nice.
I'm not really familiar with. So that's been really fun, and I'm kind of excited for kind of what I can do with it down the road.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. I'm really obviously excited, not just because of the benefits that we can, put here on Super Baka Bros and give all of you viewers to have a little bit more professional production value, but just to me myself kind of delve more into that realm, because I am the biggest novice at anything visual graphics wise. So I'm really excited to see what you come up with, Phil.
Yeah. How about you? What are you into this week?
So I feel like the last few months I've been really trying to ramp myself up to get back into my hardcore gamer mode. And for a while there, I really wasn't playing video games at all. And whereas I used to play a lot of video games every night, and also first-person shooters in particular, playing online and being super competitive. And I'm trying to get myself back into that phase for the release of Halo Infinite, which is something that I'm going to be streaming on this channel and competitively trying to get as hardcore serious as I can. But I've been playing some first-person shooters. One of them is Back 4 Blood, which is a zombie team-based sort of game where you have to work together and get through stages of these like zombie scenarios. So that's a game I'm definitely playing. But I'm also playing New World, which is an MMORPG that is very interesting, and just interacting with other people online again has really reawoken. I don't think I'm saying that right. My online competitiveness, because there's some PvP, like I'm randomly mining something and some jackass runs up and tries to kill me. Like it's sharpening my kill or be killed senses, and I'm just super excited to take all of that and put it into Halo. So be on the lookout for that December 8th, I think. Jesus Christ. For when Halo comes out. That is going to be some real tense moments on the stream.
Well, I don't know if we'll have a chance to play it together on the stream, but we will definitely be playing it together at some point. So I might have to start playing. I have really old versions of Halo.
Yeah.
Because I don't have any of the new Xboxes, but I'll have to kind of break some of those out just to get back into that mindset.
Yeah.
Although, from what I remember, when way back when with the three of us, with Quentin, were playing Halo Online together late at night. I very much remember playing and then trying to go to sleep, and then just laying in bed, just kind of twitching, just almost like I had just like snorted crack or something, because the intensity of the game just kind of wired my brain for hypertension.
Yeah, thinking about different scenarios of what I could have done or what I should do next time.
Or like
Absolutely.
laying in bed and like there's a little sound. I'm like, was that a grenade? So we'll see how deep I get into it.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
December 8th is when Halo Infinite comes out, so be on the lookout for that. So yeah, before we get into our wrap up, I just want to say, everyone in chat, thank you all for being here and experiencing this podcast. We were actually not going to be streaming today, but it worked out where we can. So I'm glad that we could have this conversation so that it's not so much further away from the end of when What If, because What If finished up a couple of weeks ago, October 6th, so like a week or so ago. So I think it's good that we got this conversation in now.
Yeah, I think too much later than this probably would have been a little bit too much. Like,
Exactly.
Or, we can do it whenever we want, but it wouldn't have been quite ideal.
Yeah. So I'm glad we got to do this. People watching, please be on the lookout for Neighborhood RPG on Tuesday, 9 o'clock.
Oh.
This is going to be the production work that I put into this. I'm not joking. Tim from Brooklyn, Tabletop Audio, his audio setup, the amount of audio cues and also music moments that are going to happen in this next session are, not to toot my own horn, but probably the best D&D experience in all of the internets. So
all the
multiverses. Yeah, exactly. Be on the lookout for Tuesday's episode, 9 o'clock. The Magic Jewel Heist on Neighborhood RPG is going to be absolutely explosive. So if you're not following, hit that follow button so you can get the notifications of when we go live. It is going to be absolutely worth it. This is what we've been working toward. It's not necessarily the end of the campaign, but it's definitely one of the moments you do not want to miss, people. Just giving you that heads up.
I don't know kind of what exactly is going to happen, but is it fair to say that this is kind of the beginning of the end?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. So a lot of things are going to change, let's just say that, from after this episode. And your decision as Drock and Ted as Aldrain and Chandras as Arena Lore will shape the world of Galia itself. So keep that in mind, folks. If you haven't watched a D&D stream, this is the one to watch. Tuesday, 9 o'clock, Neighborhood RPG on the Super Bakabro channel. So yeah, that's all I got on that. I don't want to talk too much more because I'll effing spoil stuff. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And so just with that, I'd like to say, Phil, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it, bud.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to. It's fun.
Hell yeah. And everyone else.
1 or 2 weeks before now, so.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good that we got this in. Everyone else, please be patient with yourself and others. I know it's definitely troubling and hard times, but if we can just try to take a moment and breathe before we react to things, I think that'll help not only ourselves, but other people that we have to deal with. And as always, good to see Sebastian. As always, please stay hydrated, and we love you. We'll see you next time.